what is an uncomfortable truth about Web3 security that the industry still prefers to ignore?
That a user by himself has zero chance to protect himself against scams. People really got excited about the idea of moving from Web 2 to Web 3 or the concept of blockchain, right? But what they didn't really realize is that the moment they shifted from their traditional banking systems into crypto, they literally lost tens of years of development and know-how in the cybersecurity space. People do not understand the separation between the crypto infrastructure versus the dApps and the usage of crypto.
In technology, in blockchain, no system is really 100% safe.
A good point. But there is one exception to that rule.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lorena Nessi from CCN, and today I'm joined by Danor Cohen, CTO and co-founder of Kerberus Cyber. We will discuss the rise of scams and phishing attacks in Web3, what makes on-chain threats harder to detect, issues around decentralization and privacy, and much more. Danor, thanks for being with us today. Welcome to CCN.
Thank you, Lorena. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Nice to meet you. We're going to go with our first question, and it is a little bit of a technical question. So the Web3 space has seen an explosion, as you know, of scams and phishing attacks. From a technical point of view, what makes these threats harder to detect compared to Web 2 attacks?
Well, here's what happened. People really got excited about the idea of moving from Web 2 to Web 3 or the concept of blockchain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the promise of decentralization and holding their own funds, and many more concepts. But what they didn't really realize is that the moment they shifted from their traditional banking systems into crypto, they literally lost tens of years of development and know-how in the cybersecurity space. All of the companies that got built during the years to protect against fraud in banking, scams, cyber, everything thrown out of the window, right? That part people didn't realize when they shifted into crypto. And that's what makes it hard, because now the user is almost solely responsible on his own security.
Oh, wow. So Kerberus actually operates across multiple blockchains. What are these notable differences that you're mentioning, or these notable differences that you can see across different ecosystems, let's say Ethereum or Solana?
Well, I wouldn't say that there is a difference between the different chains in terms of security. What I would say is that we see a clear correlation between where the money goes and the trends and when the scammers goes. So if it's a Solana month and everyone is doing Solana and Solana meme coins, you would definitely see all of the scammers aiming towards Solana systems, Solana dApps, Solana as a general. So if it's a trend that pointing towards a certain niche of crypto, be sure that all of the hackers and scammers would be also there.
So security depends on hype? Is that what you're saying?
Well, think about it. Hackers are not after hacking people just for fun. They are there for the money. So they also understand that they need to follow the hype in order to get the most out of their hacks.
Yeah. But these blockchains, most blockchains at least, try to promise transparency and security. But actually, you're saying that when we transition, or as we transition into systems that depend on these blockchains, security is actually one of the weakest points, right?
Yeah, definitely, because people do not understand the separation between the crypto infrastructure versus the dApps and the usage of crypto. So, for instance, maybe we have this new car that has an amazing engine that is fail-safe and the wheels are much less vulnerable to damage. But in order to drive this car safely, you need to learn a year, for example, right? So if you'll go and use that car, although the car itself is more safe, but without the proper education, actually, your chances to get into an accident is multiple X's because you just looked at the car itself while not looking at the broader aspect of using the car. So taking that into crypto, the most lowest layer of infrastructure, which is the blockchain itself, it's really secured in compared to other technologies. It's almost bulletproof. But that's just the underlying layer. Everything above it is actually more vulnerable.
And how does Kerberus come into play here then?
So in Kerberus, what we aim to do is to find and fill all the holes in between the secured layer of crypto and what actually happens at the end of the day. For example, we asked our users, what is the most common way for you to lose money in crypto? And the research indicated that they are losing most of their funds due to phishing, simple phishing. So we put our first goal to eliminate phishing. And that's exactly what we did. We developed an IP that knows in 99.9% that a certain website is a Web3 phishing site versus a legit site. Then our users told us, okay, we're not losing funds anymore in phishing. Now we're losing funds due to an attack called address poisoning, which we could elaborate about it, but it's a different type of attack that is relying on the user getting confused about what he's seeing. Very similar to phishing, but different. What we do, we went that route, we figure out how to fix it, and again, none of our users ever again lost funds to a address poisoning attack. Looking forward, users starting to report that they're losing funds on mobile, on malwares. So that's exactly where we are going to go with the company.
So how does, in that sense, the zero user loss record work? You know, how do you actually define the success? And actually, how do you do that without overstating this protection that we can see that in technology, in blockchain, no system is really 100% safe?
Exactly. If it was the case, I didn't had a job for most of my career. So as you know, I've been hacking systems. So that's really a good point. But there is one exception to that rule, and that's insurance or coverage. If you have an insurance up to, let's say, 100K, you know for sure that you are secured 100% on those 100K. But here's the challenge. You cannot really provide or build an insurance or coverage mechanism that makes sense from financial standpoint unless you have a very, very good security that makes the numbers make sense. So, for example, if, let's say, 50% of your users lose funds for scams, you cannot insure them because the money of the insurance would be more than what you can cover, right? Like the premium. But if you manage to achieve 99% detection, for example, then you could make that 99 into 100 using the coverage. So we do have 100% detection using the coverage and 100% detection using the coverage, but 99.9 without the coverage.
I see. So that little percentage is the one that allows you actually to keep covering new threats, basically.
Yes, that's the small gap that we might have in the future. We haven't seen anything bypassing us for 3 years. But in case that would happen, our users knows that they are covered.
Okay, great. And you have talked about real-time transaction scanning, right? That sounds very powerful. Mm-hmm. How do you prevent such tools from becoming invasive or collecting excessive user data?
Well, actually, that really depends on the IP, on what you do, how exactly you detect the scams. Our way of detecting scams does not require any specific user data. Mm-hmm. I would even argue that we don't even need the transaction data in most cases. So we build a mechanism that knows how to defer Web3 phishing site from a legit site just by looking on some things that are part of our secret sauce. But it's not involving the user data or even the transaction data, which is in most cases gets public. So I don't see an issue. But as a general answer to your question, security had been and would always be a balance of privacy or comfort or comfort.
And as we use more integrated tools with AI, I mean, it is connected to the previous question, but what do you see as the ethical limits that in general, maybe not Kerberus, but in general developers should set when designing these machine learning models for actually protecting crypto users?
Good question. I would say that one of them is to not leak data, because that's the most problematic angle of shared AI mechanisms. For instance, maybe your AI might learn from a private site that no one knew about and project that insight into a website that everyone knows, which might leak the existence of that unknown site. I know it's a bit abstract, but that's, as a general, that's the problem with AI. It does not have a separation inside the model itself between shared users. So obviously for B2B solutions, you would create instances per company maybe. But for the masses of users, you cannot create AI model per user. So all users needs to share the same model, which means the same trained data. So that's one concern. And second concern is less of a security, but think about it. If the AI, for instance, is trying to classify if a certain website is a phishing website or a certain email, it's even better, is a phishing email, and it looks on your image, on your profile, and try to understand if you are a phishing sender or not, maybe the profiling would be biased towards certain looks, which is a very big problem, right? So we already seeing some biases found in AI, and we don't want to see that reflecting on security, on profiling some type of looks as features or whatever.
Okay, we're going to go a little bit deeper into these protection rules, let's say, and decentralization. You worked in offensive security at Salesforce and big hunting for major platforms, right? So how does that background influence your approach to building these ethical security tools for decentralized systems in specific?
Well, I think that actually made all the difference, because most security solutions are built by people that think defense. I've been doing both offense and defense for 15 plus years professionally. I've been also the attacker and the defender for many years. So what I know that defenders usually don't know is what I have is the mindset, the right mindset. So wearing my hacker hat when I ran a campaign in hacking into whatever, Facebook, PayPal, you name it, I know what are the things that I'm afraid the most that would make my life 10x harder to get into the system, which not necessarily is something that defenders would think about. They think differently than hackers. That's the reason why we have this everlasting war. They think in a very specific way, and hackers think in a very different way. Having the ability to wear both hats give you a much more holistic view on how to secure a system. Obviously, you put all the basics of defense, but you bring some spice from the offense that most systems lack.
Very good. So we talked about security and the ethos of blockchain. What about this idea of trustless, right? Web3 blockchains have this discourse about being trustless systems, right? So do you think that relying on third-party security providers like Kerberus contradicts that ethos, or does it enhance it, and how?
Well, I think we need to separate between wishes and reality. The wish is obviously to get into this beautiful future where everything is trustless. But in reality, as a normal person, you connect to a Wi-Fi that connects into some government-controlled infrastructure that goes through DNS servers run by big companies like Google or Cloudflare. Then you go through another infrastructure and another infrastructure controlled by other and other companies. It's just that those companies are either under the radar. You don't know, like the company that is in charge of the cables that goes under the sea, right? Or that they are too big for you to be afraid of. Like, for example, Google. Most people feel comfortable knowing, okay, Google knows about this, about me. Okay, that's Google, right? But the reality is that there are hundreds, if not more, vendors, different vendors that knows about some part of your activity. In order to get into full privacy in crypto that is trustless end to end, we have a long road to go. And until we get there, it doesn't make sense for us to not protect users, right? So we say to our users, we know you like privacy. We are doing our best to keep our solution as private as possible in terms of we are not collecting any data, no IP addresses, not your information. Even our solution pops and triggers only on Web3 sites. So if it's not a Web3 site, we don't even know that you visited there. We're doing a lot of efforts to give as much privacy as possible to our users. But reality is that privacy is dead for many years now. It's just an illusion. So it's better to be safe, I would say.
That is a very strong viewpoint, isn't it? Do you really think that privacy is dead, or what's the road ahead in terms of privacy? Are we heading towards more privacy or the opposite in the long run?
Well, I would say that would be a fight that would take place between tech people and governments. Governments would always try to get as much as possible information about everything, right? That helps a lot in controlling population, while tech people would always try to use technology and math in order to get more privacy. So to try and to be a small profit here and say who would win on that war at the end, very hard. But it seems that with the magic of math and technology, we are getting closer and closer into privacy, or at least into the illusion of privacy.
I hope you're right. I hope it's the first one anyway, the privacy one. But anyway, and going more into these, now we have global regulators, and they are increasingly tightening their stance on crypto compliance, right? So how should cybersecurity tools balance this transparency with user privacy in decentralized ecosystems?
So yeah, as I mentioned, that totally connects to our previous topic. Regulations are meant to also tighten the control of the government over the technology, because that technology is scaring to the government. It's all encrypted and private. Security tools needs to understand that they would need to do more with less. So we as Kerberus, we don't have access to a lot of things that we would like to get access to provide better security. But we need to play with the cards that we dealt. So we'll just need to do more with less information from the user and still provide higher security.
Great. So in the event of a major exploit or breach, how much responsibility do you think should fall on the user or the decentralized application or the security provider?
Well, in that point, I think that Kerberus is very unique because our beliefs or our vision is that crypto would get into such a maturity level that the user would never be responsible. Imagine that you are using your credit card now. I remember vividly 15, 20 years ago, asking my mom to use her credit card online. would immediately freak out. Like, oh, it would be stolen, da 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 da. These days, I would argue that she's using online shops and services more than me even. Her entire life is using her credit card online. What changed in those 20 years? What changed is that a lot of security got built, and on top of it arrived insurance. So now my mom knows that no matter what happens, she just need to have one call. Hey, my credit card got stolen. Her money would get back to her, no question asks, and she could continue as normal. So in order to get into that in crypto, we have some journey to go through, but at the end we must get into a position where the user is never responsible for hacks or scams or mistakes. That doesn't obviously includes bad investing or bad decision making, but as much as it relates to technology or scams or hacks, zero responsibility. The user could not be a cybersecurity expert. It doesn't make sense.
So it will the security will be responsible of the security provider?
It would be partially on the security provider and partially on the dApp itself, I would say.
Okay. So just before we wrap up, looking ahead, what is an uncomfortable truth about Web3 security that the industry still prefers to ignore?
That a user by himself has zero chance to protect himself against scams.
Okay, we'll have to learn that. And then apply it, right?
During our journey, we've talked to many users and we try to tell them you need to have something, either Kerberus or something else similar to protect yourself. And people are, no, it would never happen to me. I never do this. I'm very informed. I'm well educated. And then they lose their funds. And then we ask them, how did it happen? Oh, I woke up in the morning. I wasn't focused. I drank a couple of drinks. I had a fight with my partner. It doesn't matter. We are human beings and we are vulnerable. We need a software that has no emotions and feelings to be there for us when we are off.
That's a very cool idea. I imagine a real, security angel there taking care of our phones. Hopefully it will be like that.
Totally. That's
Is
the
there
idea.
anything else, Danor, that you would like to cover that we haven't covered yet?
Well, I think we covered most of the important things. I think that the industry is going exactly where we want it to go. We see that with the adoption of Kerberus, people do realize with time that they need protection. That's important. And yeah, generally speaking, the industry is getting older and more mature. And that's a blessed thing that we are happy to see.
Yeah, we look forward as well to the main developments. Thank you, Danor, for joining us today at CCN.
Thank you, Lorena. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. That was a great conversation. Thanks. That was Danor Cohen, and I am Lorena Nessi for CCN. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.